Good people of YouTube, I'm the Watch Idiot. So I didn't put this video out right after all the releases came out because I wanted the new titanium Yacht Master 42 release to sink in, and I wanted some time to gather my thoughts about it because I am super excited about it, but I am also somewhat confused about it. So I guess I gotta think about it. And just for some context, if you're new here, my favorite watch is my Tudor Pelagos, the 42mm OG version, and I've owned that for 5.5 years, and I've also owned and loved my titanium Omega Speedmaster X-33, and I've owned other titanium watches as well because I freaking love titanium because of the dark look to it and also just that insane sensation of lightness. So in this video, I'm going to compare the Yacht Master to the Pelagos, Yacht Master on paper at least, to see how different they really are, and then I'll also get into whether or not it's worth adding a Yacht Master to the collection alongside my absolutely beloved Pelagos here, and then finally if it's worth the giant upcharge of $9,000. So yeah, lots to talk about. This is probably just me justifying things to myself, but anyway, let's get into it. Okay, so time to compare it to the Pelagos 42 because on paper they seem to be pretty similar, but they're actually pretty different. So they are both 42mm and they are both made of titanium, although the Pelagos is made of grade 2 titanium and the Yacht Master is made of grade 5 titanium. And honestly, that's pretty much where all the big similarities end. Oh, and then they have rotatable bezels and 3-link bracelets. But a 42mm titanium watch with a rotatable bezel and a bracelet does not a Pelagos make, because as watch people, we know that there are so many more factors at play here. First thing is that the water resistance is quite different. The Pelagos is 500 meters and the Yacht Master is, quote, only 100 meters, which is a shame for the tens of millions of saturation divers that were just waiting to buy a Yacht Master. I mean, honestly, depth ratings past 100 meters are pretty much pointless for me because 99.99% of the people will not take a watch past the depth of a swimming pool, let alone the max depth for a recreational diver, you know, which is 40 meters. But, you know, still, I will admit that having a watch that has 500 meters water resistance with a helium escape valve is nice to have, you know, just for funsies. So then the biggest actual difference here is the thickness of the Yacht Master at 11.6mm versus 14.2mm for the Pelagos. And I don't think I even need to explain how much of a change this is going to be and how differently the Yacht Master is going to wear on the wrist compared to the Pelagos, even before wearing the Yacht Master. Then we have the dial, and the only thing they have in common here is that it's got a matte black dial, and even that is different because the Yacht Master has a ultra smooth matte black dial versus the slightly coarser texture on the Pelagos, and also the Pelagos has a stepped chapter ring, which is really cool. And then we have the dial furniture because the Yacht Master has the traditional shiny hands and indices in white gold, which dresses it up a little bit more past, you know, into casual watch from tool watch, I guess. Whereas on the Pelagos, we have a full-on snowflake dial in fully pure stark white indices and hands, which makes it look so damn cool and makes it the most legible tool watch that I've ever experienced with 0 shiny surfaces. Next, the Yacht Master has a bidirectional 60-click bezel since it's not being used for diving, but rather, you know, timing yacht and sailing events. And for me, I'm all for it. I mean, there's no need for a unidirectional bezel in real life. I mean, I potentially won't die if my drive ends up being a minute longer than expected. The huge advantage that the Pelagos has is that the bezel is fully loomed, and I love lume an unreasonable amount, so no lume on the bezel for the Yacht Master is a little bit of a downer. And finally, the Yacht Master only has a 5mm easy link extension versus the Pelagos clasp, which is by far the best clasp on the market, even better than the glide lock system on the Submariner as far as I'm concerned. The easy link adjustment is nice to have, but since this is going to be a full tool watch of sorts, it would have been really cool to see like a glide lock light version, because let's be real, Sir Ben Ainsley wouldn't be able to put the bracelet over his wetsuit or whatever that is with just a 5mm extension. So yeah, I mean, I wasn't expecting this section to be essentially kind of bashing the Yacht Master because I really do like it, but despite all that, why is it that I really want to add one to the collection? So the main reason why I want this titanium Yacht Master so badly is because it's essentially giving me so many of the things that I absolutely love about the Pelagos, but in a package that is much more versatile by kind of fixing all the little things that keep the Pelagos from being fully versatile. Oh, and basically, it's all gray, and I love gray. I mean, all gray everything, I guess. First of all, let me get this out of the way. The Pelagos is the Pelagos. I mean, if you want a Pelagos experience, you pretty much have to get a Pelagos. I've done videos about this. I mean, the Pelagos to me is the best tool dive watch out there, period. But the big difference between the two is gonna be how it's gonna wear on the wrist and what the wearing experience will be like in general. You know, as awesome as the Pelagos is to wear, it is 14.2 millimeters thick versus 11.6 millimeters for the Yacht Master, apparently. I don't know if that's been confirmed. So in terms of daily wear and overall versatility, it's gonna be pretty different between the two of them, because sometimes the brutality of the Pelagos is just a little bit too much for certain situations and certain things I'm wearing. And then obviously the thickness and also just the case profile of it from the side is quite often a problem with long sleeves. And yeah, I mean, it's a tool watch and stuff like that, but you know, we're wearing this in real life as well. The vast majority of us, at least. Whereas I could pretty much wear the Yacht Master in any situation, you know, short of a formal event. And even then I could make it work if I really needed to. So yeah, I mean, I can essentially wear a Pelagos without going full force with the tool watchiness of it with a Yacht Master. In the end, even without the Pelagos as context, I think that the Yacht Master is an incredible watch. And I know that titanium isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things, but this is Rolex's first implementation of this incredible metal. So to experience my favorite watch metal as a Rolex is just next level, because of all the watches that I've worn over all my years. There just simply isn't anything quite like an oyster bracelet on the wrist. Like, I miss my Explorer 2 so much, pretty much mainly because of that bracelet. I mean, there are loads of really great bracelets out there, but there's just nothing that has this level of refinement. Next, I just love how low-key it is for a Rolex and how different it is from all the other Rolex watches. And a huge part of that is down to the fact that the entire case and bezel is completely brushed, you know, apart from the polished bevel, obviously. You know, this hasn't been done on any other steel Rolex watches, and I absolutely love all things brushed, so I am all for this change, and I hope it somehow spreads. Probably won't though. All that being said, I do wish that this was somehow 40 millimeters, even though I know that that would never happen, because that would step on the toes of the Pelagos 39 and Submariner. So yeah, 42 millimeters is more than okay, but my main worry here is that my Explorer 2 was 42 millimeters with a 21 millimeter lug width, just like this Yacht Master, and that ended up just wearing a bit too big for me, and then I ended up selling it. But the difference that I'm sure will save this watch is that the Explorer 2 is a white dial fixed steel bezel watch, whereas the Yacht Master is a black dial watch with a black rotatable bezel, and these factors usually make for a smaller wearing watch. And there's a chance that the dial will be smaller on the Yacht Master compared to the Explorer 2, which will further make the entire watch wear a bit smaller. And in the end, is it worth an extra $9,000 over the Pelagos? I don't think so. I think that it should be priced like $2,000–$3,000 less than it is right now. But in the end, I can't make the price change, and since this hits the spot in just so many ways, and mainly because it's titanium, I just really love it and really want it, and I really do think that this can coexist with my Pelagos because it's just such a different watch. So yeah, there you have it. Let me know down in the comments what you think about this watch or any of the other new releases from Tudor or Rolex, and then until the next video, good day.